Immer.
Jo.
Objekt. Temp Crawlers. Deckard 2, let's go. So. Widget. Resolution of what? So. Hallo, hallo. So.
Hallo, hallo.
Hallo, hallo. So, ich mache jetzt mal
Hallo,
mit
hallo.
paar Tests. So. Mach mal Piepse oder sowas, damit ich auch mal gucken kann, ob du gehört wirst auf dem
So,
Stream. Ich mache jetzt mal
Hallo,
mit
hallo. Piep, piep.
paar Tests.
Test.
So. Mach mal
Check.
Piepse oder sowas, damit ich auch mal gucken kann, ob du gehört wirst auf dem Stream. Ich mache jetzt mal
Hallo,
mit
hallo. Piep, piep.
paar Tests.
Test.
So. Mach
Check.
mal
Ich
Piepse
höre
oder
mich.
sowas, damit ich auch mal gucken kann, ob du gehört wirst auf dem Stream. Ich mache jetzt mal
Hallo,
mit
hallo. Piep, piep.
ja,
Ja.
ja, super, okay. Hier irgendwie noch gesagt. Und ich habe immer noch den Schreck als Bild oder was?
Ja, ja, der ist witzig.
Ja gut. Ich habe jetzt eigentlich auch keine Lust, noch 'n Bild rauszusuchen.
Ja, ja, ich würde den lassen. Also, ich finde mich 'n bisschen zu laut.
Du findest dich zu laut?
Ja.
Mach ich dich 'n
Also, ich bin
bisschen
auf jeden Fall
leiser.
lauter als du.
Ja.
Also, ich finde mich 'n bisschen zu laut.
Du findest dich zu laut?
Ja.
Mach ich dich 'n
Also, ich bin
bisschen
auf jeden Fall
leiser.
lauter als du.
Ja.
Also, ich finde mich 'n bisschen zu laut.
Sehr laut oder 'n bisschen leiser?
Ja.
Mach ich dich 'n
Also, ich bin
bisschen
auf jeden
leiser.
Fall lauter als du. Ja, 'n bisschen, würde ich sagen.
Ja.
Also, ich finde mich 'n
Sehr
bisschen
laut
zu laut.
sehr laut oder 'n bisschen leiser?
Ja.
Mach ich dich 'n
Also, ich bin
bisschen
auf jeden
leiser.
Fall lauter als du. Ja, 'n bisschen, würde ich sagen.
Ja.
Also, ich finde mich 'n bisschen zu laut.
Sehr laut oder 'n bisschen leiser?
Ja.
Mach ich dich 'n
Also, ich bin
bisschen
auf jeden
leiser.
Fall lauter als du. Ja, 'n
Digga, wo habe
bisschen,
ich
würde ich
den
sagen.
Stream denn jetzt offen?
Also, ich finde mich 'n bisschen zu laut.
Sehr laut oder 'n bisschen leiser?
Ja.
Mach ich dich 'n
Also, ich bin
bisschen
auf jeden
leiser.
Fall lauter als du.
Ich höre
Ja, 'n
das
bisschen.
jetzt die ganze hier, das hier. Digga.
Danke.
So, und der Stream heißt jetzt Videos und danach Vampire Crawlers Demo, ne? Oder heißt er immer noch Schreckhard irgendwas?
Um was?
Der Stream heißt ja Philipp?
Ähm,
Hallo?
also, bei mir machst du auf Discord komische Geräusche.
Discord mache ich komische Geräusche? Das ist crazy.
Also, im Stream höre ich dich normal,
Mhm.
aber auf Discord, ganz komisch.
Hm. Ich muss auch 'ne Taste finden für, den Stumm schalten. Einstellungen, Keys. So, dann würde ich sagen, fangen wir mal an, oder?
There's something going on in America that some people might know about, but is largely being swept under the rug. And in fact, maybe I'm paranoid, but part of me is somewhat afraid that I might get in trouble for talking about it, especially in such detail in front of such a large audience. But fuck it, what do I have to lose, you know?
Was soll das?
Within the past year or so, but
Ich gucke jetzt nicht noch mal
especially
nach.
ramping up within the recent months, there have been a number of strange disappearances of high-level scientists in this country. Not just regular scientists either. These are all very high-level scientists within the world of nuclear and aerospace research, specifically as it pertains to national security. And these people have all worked on government programs and had access to classified top secret information. And all of this is not a conspiracy, by the way, not at all. Even though most conspiracies these days end up turning out to be true anyways. But everything I'm going to present in this video can be easily found with a simple Google search within a few seconds. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. I'll give you some of the basic facts about this case so that you can think for yourself and draw your own conclusions. And at the very end, I'll talk about 3 of my theories about what could be going on. One of them is really interesting, by the way, so be sure to stick around until then. And also, just on a small side note, I really hope this video reaches as many people as possible, just to get the word out, because I think it's important for us to know this stuff as informed citizens. So if that's something you'd also like to happen, feel free to hype the video or share it, or do whatever you can to help promote it. I'd really appreciate that. And like I said, it keeps people in the know.
New Mexico.
Anthony Chavez was a retired employee at Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico. And by the way, keep New Mexico in mind for the next few minutes. If you didn't know, Los Alamos is the most prominent nuclear research lab in the entire country. It's literally where the first ever atomic bomb was created, back during World War II. And on May 4th, 2025, just about a year ago from today, this guy quite literally vanished out of thin air from his home. Even the official description shows that. All of his personal belongings were still at his house, his car was also still there, and there was no sign of any struggle or forced entry. This is the first case on the timeline. Melissa Cassius was an administrative assistant at, guess where? Los Alamos, the National Laboratory in New Mexico, the same one that the previous guy worked at. Even though she herself was not necessarily a scientist, the reports say that she did have notable security clearances, so she had access to certain sets of information that the public is not allowed to know. On June 26, 2025, she was last seen walking along the side of the road, and then suddenly she disappeared. No one ever saw her again, and she's still not found to this day. What's interesting to note is that all of her personal belongings, including her phone, weren't with her while she was on this walk, during which she mysteriously, I don't know, just vanished into thin air. Everything was found in place in her home, and strangely, both her home and work phones were factory reset before she went missing.
Okay.
Steven Garcia was a government
Crazy.
contractor at the Kansas City National Security Campus, but coincidentally, guess where he lived? New Mexico. This facility that he worked at is involved in the production of the US nuclear weapons arsenal, and Garcia himself had a high-level security clearance. On August 28th, 2025, he also mysteriously disappeared from his home in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is not too far from Los Alamos. Actually, I'm looking it up. How far is it? It's only 2 hours away. Another person of note is William Neal
That's
McCaslin.
like
He was
Walter
a
White's
retired
office
Air
one.
Force Major General, so a
That's
very
like crazy.
high-ranking position. And I actually talked about his case in one of my previous videos. Even then, I knew something was up with this. McCaslin held senior roles at the Pentagon throughout the course of his life related to aerospace research, and he also spent time at multiple Air Force bases, including the one in New Mexico. Notably, he was also heavily involved in UFO research, and there's been a lot of speculation about that recently.
Mm-hmm.
On February 27th, 2026, guess what happened to him? He also disappeared out of nowhere. And do you know where he disappeared from? His home in, surprise, surprise, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yes, yes. Aliens are real. Yes, yes. In fact, I very much have seen them. Yes, they're very real. Um, Stop asking me about those files. I'm not in the files. The aliens are real.
Now, I want to point out, of course, just to be responsible, that all of this could theoretically just be a total coincidence. There's still more, by the way, that I haven't gotten to, so
Diese
you can be the
Trump-Impression war
judge of
sowas
that
von
by the
cringe.
end of the video.
Holy shit.
But
Die war
just
so
thinking
scheiße.
about it reasonably, all of this
Nein,
sounds
war
kind of
überhaupt
too
nicht gut.
convenient. All of these four people we've talked about so far were specifically related to nuclear research facilities in specifically New Mexico, and all four of them vanished into thin air within the span of 1 year, actually less than that. The first person, Chavez, May 4th, 2025. The second person, Cassius, June 26th, 2025. The third person, Garcia, August 28th, 2025. And this recent one, McCasland, February 27th, 2026. Four disappearances, all within the same 2 hour driving radius in New Mexico, all of people who had ties to nuclear research. Yeah, it's definitely a coincidence, right? There's no possible way it could be connected. And I also want to make the point that there's not that many people in the country who make it to such high level positions at such high level facilities in the first place. Like, thinking about this logically, it's not like there are a million of these kinds of scientists around and a few of them going missing is a blip on the radar. No, it's only a tiny pool of people at this level to begin with. So the fact that 10, or I believe now 11, are all suddenly gone in mysterious disappearances and cases within the past year, that's statistically significant. Like, there's just no way around it. It's a true anomaly in any sense of the word. Anyways,
Ich musste gerade an Anyways, ich musste gerade an den Trump-Clip denken. Weiß ich nicht, ob du den kennst. Trump. Quiet. Ja. Hier, los.
What did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when you said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that. They would have announced that a long time ago. It's really, what did he mean when he spent all the time with Bill Clinton, with the
Bill Clinton, President of Harvard, who. Aha.
Larry Summers,
Larry Summers.
all of the other people that he
Ja,
spent
ja, ja.
with. Jeffrey Epstein and I had a
Jeffrey
great
Epstein.
relationship for many years. But he also saw
Jeffrey
signs
Epstein.
when he was president. So he dictated a couple of memos to himself. Give me a break. You're going to find out what did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people that he knew, including J.P. Morgan chase. Yeah, Jennifer. go ahead.
JP Morgan?
In the file, Venezuela, why not
Meine Mutter war mal in so einem JP Morgan Run dabei. Hat, glaube ich, so ein T-Shirt bekommen. Ja. Anyways.
the story is now about to get even weirder because. Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying the video. If you didn't know, I have a full bonus show over on Patreon that's actually a bit
Mhm.
different from this channel. I drop videos on there every single week, specifically to talk about things that I can't really talk about on here. I'm sure you guys understand that there are so many more things I want to say, but there are some things that you just can't say on a mainstream platform like this. But on there,
Ah.
I'm completely unfiltered, completely uncensored, completely off script, and I'll be reacting to everything going on in the world and covering some much deeper and much more controversial topics. So I think it's something that you guys would really enjoy. You might even like it more than this main channel. It's $5 a month and you'll get access to the full weekly show. Link is in the description and pinned comment. And shout out to everyone who's already on Patreon and everyone who's a channel member as well. Love and appreciate you guys. Anyways, the story is now about to get even weirder because we're gonna open a new front. What I mean is that everything I've talked about so far is happening in New Mexico. But what if I were to tell you that something even fishier was going on in Southern California?
Ei.
Monica Reza was a very high level aerospace engineer. She was actually one of the co creators of an original new alloy for rocket engines. So she's extremely important to the defense sector and the military industrial complex. Reza was the director of materials processing at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California, the JPL. And again, like I said, to keep New Mexico in mind earlier, keep this Jet Propulsion Laboratory JPL in mind as we move forward. Anyways, on June 22nd, 2025, she vanished in what's probably the strangest disappearance that I've personally ever heard of. It's like the CIA is really getting creative these days, but for real. This is the official story, and I'm just gonna read it out to you for you to get a sense of how absurd it is. Monica and her friend were out hiking on a pretty popular trail in the Los Angeles area. It's not like it was in the middle of nowhere. The friend was about 30 feet ahead and told police he turned around to check on her and she smiled and waved, indicating she was doing fine. The friend turned back to continue hiking, and when he looked back at her again, moments later, she was gone, he told investigators. We're supposed to believe that this woman just evaporated into thin air in a matter of seconds while her friend was literally there. And by the way, I'm someone who goes hiking a ton. Most of you guys already know that because I have a second channel dedicated to that. And I'll just tell you from my experience, that kind of situation is completely impossible. Karl Grillmeyer
Was sagst du,
was
Philipp?
known as a brilliant astrophysicist at Caltech. If you didn't know, Caltech just so happens to be the university that manages JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And honestly, this guy did some really cool stuff. He spent decades working on NASA missions related to telescopes and even got into some more advanced and theoretical areas of research. Like, this is actually the
Ei.
stuff I personally wanted to study before I decided to quit physics back in college, if you know my full story.
Also, die war Hiking. Wie heißt das? Wandern mit Stöckchen. Mit jemand anderem. Und der andere hat dann berichtet, wie sie dann verschwunden ist. Also, er hat anscheinend irgendwie zurückgeguckt, dann war sie da und dann ist er 'n bisschen weitergelaufen und dann hat er noch mal zurückgeguckt und dann war sie weg. Ja. Was sagst du? Ist das true oder Na klar, na klar. Die Aliens haben sie geschnappt. Die Aliens waren's.
Anyways, unfortunately, this individual is not with us anymore as of February 16th of this year. And what's interesting in this case is that the suspect who was determined to be responsible previously snuck onto his property multiple times before this specific incident happened, almost as if this.
Warum wird das mir getranslated auf Englisch? Warte mal. Mein Chat wird mir einfach auf Englisch übersetzt. I do not believe his story. He was suddenly gone. That's crazy.
Was planned out way beforehand and he was scoping out the area. Anyways, what a surprise. How convenient that the authorities still have not established a motive yet, and there's very little known about this individual and the case in general. That's all I can say for now. Frank Mywald was an engineer at, guess where? Take a random guess. JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He spent decades there, essentially working on astrobiology research. And unfortunately, he also hasn't been with us ever since July 4th of 2024. So this timeline does go back a little bit further, and, nobody really thought anything about his death at the time. But now, given all of these recent related incidents and connections, it's kind of strange looking back on it, especially considering the fact that his cause of death was never actually published. It was never revealed to the public. It's literally a secret to this day. Nobody knows how he passed. We just know that he did. That's obviously something
Es stimmt, so eine Will Byers-Puppe wie in Stranger Things drin. Ganz bestimmt. Ja, ja.
strange and bizarre. If you didn't know, usually when somebody passes away, there is a documented record
Hallo
of how and
Felix.
why it
Jo,
happened.
wie geht's?
And you'd think, especially for a very high level employee at a very high profile research lab in the Los Angeles
Wir
area,
gucken
which
gerade ein
is one
Video
of the
über Wissenschaftler, die in Amerika verschwunden gehen.
biggest population centers in the country. It's not like this just happened in the middle of nowhere out in rural Kansas or something and nobody knows what happened. All logic indicates that there should be clear records and evidence of, you know, what happened there. And strangely enough, the same thing also happened to a man by the name of Michael Hicks, who, guess what? He was also a researcher at JPL, and in fact, a longtime employee. He worked there for 24 years. He, like these other people, was also involved in astrophysics. He focused on comets and asteroids in his research, and he even served on some big name projects for NASA. And what do you know? He also left us from this world without a single trace whatsoever, because he also passed away with no cause of death officially given. And this happened almost exactly a year before Maywald, his former colleague. Now let's just discuss a few theories just for the sake of speculation. And all of this is speculation, by the way. I don't have proof or anything. It's just a matter of having the pieces and trying to put them together as best we can. And it'll be really interesting to hear some of your theories. I'm looking forward to reading them. But let's just get the first one out of the way. That, what if it actually is just a coincidence? Now, I highly doubt it. I think that any reasonable person can see that there are just a bit too many coincidences all pointing in the same direction
Hast du
to
das
be
gerade
able
eben
to just
vorbeifliegen
brush them
gesehen?
off as that coincidences. But just for the record, like to be responsible, it is theoretically possible for all of this to be a coincidence. To explain it by saying something like how these are all very high stress jobs and these people are under immense pressure all the time, most likely, and therefore that could lead to these individuals having weird or self destructive tendencies that put them in bad situations. Let's just call it that. Again, that's possible. That's probably what the government and the media want you to believe. But again, just thinking about it from the most basic element. Entry framework, it's not just one or two, or even three or four of these scientists going missing or dying under mysterious circumstances. It's literally 11 scientists at this point, all within
Mehr
the
als
same
ich
few
Finger
years,
hab.
all
Mehr als ich
connected to
Finger
these
hab.
same high level government research facilities, and all of these happening in the same areas as well. And by the way, I believe I only talked about 7 or 8 people in this video. There are a few that I couldn't even get to, or else this video would be a bit too long. You can look into those on your own time.
Das ist crazy.
So anyways, it could be a coincidence, but I don't think it is. And let's say that it's not. Here are a few other things to think about.
Hostile foreign
I feel like
agents.
most people are quick to connect these events to our own government and intelligence agencies, and I actually think that makes the most sense, obviously. It's the most logical deduction. I'll get to that in a bit. But I do want to talk about a different angle that I haven't really heard anyone else talk about yet, that I think is at least worth mentioning as an idea to consider. What if these incidents could be traced to a hostile foreign government? Because think about it. This is what we have literally done to other countries on their home soil. If you recall, back during the 12-day war of last year between Iran and Israel, and in this current ongoing conflict with Iran, both the US and greatest ally neutralized a bunch of Iranian nuclear and aerospace scientists in their country. And this is only what we know of, by the way, in these recent highly publicized conflicts. But the truth is that our intelligence agencies, along with greatest ally, have been sabotaging Iran's nuclear and aerospace research for years now behind the scenes, even before what's been going on recently. And strangely enough, what do you know? Now we
Da
realize
ist es
that the
wieder.
same thing has
Eieiei.
actually been happening to us, almost like a case of what goes around comes around. So just think about it this way. If this is the kind of stuff that we intend to do and that we're capable of doing to other countries around the world, then obviously it's not outside the realm of possibility that another country might have the intent and possibly even the capability to do this kind of stuff to us as well. But what it seems like most people think is that our government and our intelligence agencies, possibly along with greatest ally, might have something to do with these recent cases. And I think that's the most straightforward answer, obviously, because our intelligence and greatest ally have been doing this kind of stuff for decades. Because again, all of these people were involved in highly classified research and projects in extremely crucial areas related to national security and the military industrial complex. So, just for an example scenario, imagine that all of these people had some level of access to some very consequential information, like they're sitting on something very big that the government doesn't want the public to know about just yet, if ever. And what if what all these people had in common was that they were all deemed, for one reason or another, to be whistleblower risks? Like, if intelligence indicated that these people were more likely than others to leak this classified information to the public, well, then that gives our government a natural and obvious motive behind doing what they're doing. Because from the government's perspective, even looking at recent history, they don't want another case of a Julian Assange or an Edward Snowden, because they did huge damage to the reputation of America, and they were able to somewhat successfully escape from the country. So maybe, in this case, the government just wanted to prevent the next case of that from happening. And by the way, just to be totally clear, this is not me justifying our government possibly doing something like that. I'm just detaching emotionally and explaining the rationale behind it.
Mhm.
Finally, where this all starts to come together, and I hope you made it to this part of the video, is think about the bigger geopolitical picture in all of this. First of all, a lot of these people obviously have to do with nuclear research. That's what the entire first half of the video was about. And think about what's going
Das
on
ist
in
ein
the
Wort.
world as it pertains to nuclear.
Nuclear.
We got very big things going on. Obviously, one of them is the current war in Iran, where one central component of the negotiations is nuclear enrichment. But also recently, there's something else that's gone under the radar, and you wouldn't know about it unless you're kind of a political junkie like myself. That's crazy. Even a
Das ist
year ago,
crazy.
I wasn't this much into politics, but there's so much going on in the world. Anyways, there was a huge nuclear treaty with Russia from back in the Cold War days that expired recently.
Oh
This
shit.
program was in effect for 50 years, actually, and it just expired this February
Oh
with
shit.
I don't know if it was both sides deciding not to renew or just our side, but this treaty was not renewed. So that naturally leads to the question, what if this is the beginning of a new nuclear era, possibly an arms race? Trump has actually alluded to that. And then you start to notice, if you look around, that all of these billionaires like Bezos, Zuckerberg, they're building these giant underground bunkers and compounds. It's been happening within the past few years. Do you think that's a coincidence? I mean, maybe it is, but why does it seem like all of these coincidences are pointing in the same direction? Now, just to wrap up the loose ends, the other half of this equation is aerospace research, because the other half of this list of scientists was again involved in rocket and outer space research at JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And this is one more point I want to emphasize because I personally haven't heard many people talking about it in this way. Think about how the wars of the future will be fought. All the military analysts say something like, oh, the next generation of wars won't be fought with artillery and boots on the ground, it'll be fought with missiles and drones. And yeah, that's true. Now think one level beyond that. Where do the guidance systems for missiles and drones come from? They come from satellites in outer space. And even on the defensive
Als
side,
nächstes wird
how do you
Elon
most
Musk
effectively
entführt, Alter.
track
Ich sag.
missile and drone launches from the enemy? Satellites in outer space. That's why space is so crucial. That's why, like him or
Ich
not,
predict
Trump
this.
made the Space Force. And the moral of the story is that everything related to outer space these days is going to have huge military and national security implications as we head into the future. In fact, the wars of the future could very well be decided by who takes out the other side's satellites first. So, as it relates to the circumstances of these scientists involved in outer space research, obviously our government, which is very invested in war and wants to fight almost everywhere in the world these days, cares about this stuff deeply and would want to have everything on lock, under control. Even if it means, doing horrible things like what they have possibly done in this case. Anyways, this is a pretty heavy topic. I don't know a good way to end this, but I would like to say I genuinely love my life. I love Christ. I have a great community who would be there for me if anything happened. I'm looking forward to a bright future ahead, so I would obviously never do anything to myself that's self-destructive, if you know what I mean. I want to make that fully clear. I would never go missing while hiking with a friend like what happened to Monica. I actually don't take any substances at all, by the way. I don't smoke, I don't drink whatsoever. I never go swimming in the ocean. I never stay on very high floors of hotel rooms with balconies. I'm an extremely safe driver. Everyone says that about me. So I think you get the point. I hope you learned something new from this video, and all I want to say is that all we can personally do as part of our collective journeys to become the best versions of ourselves is to stay informed and understand the world, even if it means acknowledging the harsh realities of it.
So, jetzt etwas Lockeres.
This video is sponsored by Monarch. With the rise in popularity of mules, boots, loafers, and all other elevated variations
Ich habe auch jetzt neue, seit einer Weile jetzt trage ich Stiefel, aber jetzt in letzter Zeit wieder nicht, weil es jetzt wieder wärmer geworden ist. Da habe ich keinen Bock, 'n Stiefel zu tragen, aber Stiefel so, ich weiß nicht, wie die heißen. Da ist die mit dem Gummi in der Mitte zum Auseinanderdehnen.
of footwear, fashion has become too cool. The marketplace of swag has really diversified its spread compared to the hypebeast sneaker monopoly about a decade ago. But ironically, at the same time, I feel like there's never been more variation in what could be considered cool for sneakers nowadays. From color scheme, material, and especially shape. The sneaker landscape is quietly in its golden age. So as to not miss the good times as they're happening, I'm gonna walk you through the spread and we can figure out what sneaker works best for your wardrobe and, more importantly, how to style them. So I think the way sneakers are styled has drastically changed over the past 10 years. A decade ago is primarily just centerpiece styling, where a rare or trendy pair of sneakers would just take center stage and essentially that would just be the fit. Like, you could really have anything above the ankle as long as you had a pair of Yeezys or Jordans or whatever. You're pretty much good. Whereas now I feel like sneaker styling has taken a more holistic approach. The shoe-pants relationship is a lot more equal. I like to think we've matured about it, generally speaking. We care more about silhouette and aesthetic synergy now. Personally, theme and silhouette are the two biggest
Die
factors
schauen.
that
Was
influence
für
my
eine
decision.
Meinung, Philipp? Was sagst du dazu? Zu den Rechten? Also, ich habe ja so ähnliche. Rot findest du nicht gut? Ich habe ähnliche. Aber in so cremefarbig beige. Aber nicht von New Balance, also richtige Bootsschuhe. Ich kann mal gucken, ob ich die rausfinde. Vielleicht gibt's die nicht. Ich habe die oben. Hier sowas halt.
Decision making when it
Ich
comes
würde
to
die vielleicht
sneakers,
tragen.
and I
Ich
think
würde
they
die
are the
vielleicht tragen.
pillars that give sneakers an edge over any other piece that you could have in your wardrobe. So from here on out, we are just going to play into those specific strengths. It is pointless kind of walking down the avenue of the minimal leather sneaker, as you can kind of communicate that idea wearing almost anything. And there's nothing wrong with them. You know, I indulge in a good white leather sneaker as much as the next guy. More than the next guy, I think. More than all of the guys. But that is not what this video is about. Especially if you already have that covered. Like, you do not want to waste your money on wardrobe filler when you can be more deliberate about your choices. It's very easy to forget about the money that you lose on pieces that you never end up wearing. Which is why I've been personally keeping tabs on everything using the sponsor of today's video, Monarch. Monarch is a private and ad-free financial platform that brings all of your finances into one clean dashboard. Like I said, I'm at a time in my life where I can't afford to be financially aimless. I really can't afford a lot. Money's coming in and out of multiple avenues, from everything I'm doing with social media, obviously the clothing brand, big one, all of my ambitions in video production. My finances are a Schrodinger's box of ramen and Uber Blacks. You know, it gets quite spooky and anxiety inducing. But Monarch simplifies everything by keeping all of it in one dashboard, so I really don't have to look at one spot, so I can understand when rent is due, or how up I am, or how up I must be for the next big thing. Because you want to money spread, you don't want your money spread. Syncs with over 13,000 financial institutions, so that no matter what your situation is, you can monitor all of your finances cross-platform on both your phone and your computer. Monarch also helps you move better with customizable rules on budgeting. Like, if your finances are a little tighter than you'd like this month, you can change the rules, or if your priorities change, again, there's a lot for you. Using AI to analyze your income and spending, Monarch can help you map out your situation ahead of time so you don't find yourself in a hole. And if you are lucky enough to share life with someone, they offer a shared interface for partners so that you guys are both always on the same page financially. So if you are just like me and you have no business being in charge of your own life, make money simple with Monarch by scanning the QR code on your screen now or clicking the link in the description, where you guys will get 50% off the entire first year using code FRUGAL50, making it just $50 annually. And for the peace of mind and financial maturity this can give you, I feel like it's a small price to pay. So go check it out again by scanning the QR code on your screen or clicking the link in the description. Thank you to Monarch for sponsoring today's video. We used to pray for times like this. So let's start with the most exciting thing about sneakers in 2026, silhouette. I don't think there's ever been a bigger spread of shapes and features when it comes to sneakers than like right now. Starting with my personal favorite, these kind of slim build sneakers. Just a big fan of a good 0-calorie sneaker. Things like the Onitsuka Tiger, you know, obviously the Samba, just the domesticated soccer cleat idea. Just this genre of sneaker right here. I've always personally been a fan of like these archive Puma and Nike sneakers, like the old Prada sports stuff too. I don't know what they were doing, man, but they were doing the right thing. And I'm glad that we are back on the same page. I've been wearing them like this, you know, just some great contrast with a nice, generous pair of pants, stacking over top, covering it and having the little nose that's just a little bit sticking out, you know? And as you walk, as the pants come up and you take a step, there's just a, you know, this effect, kind of just really harmony, you know, yin and yang. We love yin and yang in the universe. We see it all throughout the universe. So why not appreciate it with your pair of shoes as well? Like, what are those? What are you wearing even? You know, I've never seen that pair of shoes ever. I've had my fun with them. I've been wearing them for about a year now. My personal daily skinny boys, the Puma VS1s. Again, domesticated soccer cleat, references the Puma VS. Just a sick and interesting pair. I just love them. I really like the shape. I really like the features, the styling. They have cool colorways. Also, if you are wondering about the custom bodywork on these as well, that is not through wear and tear. That is by design, because I don't know what is wrong with me, man. I don't know what's wrong with me, or maybe I'm buying the wrong size, because the back of my ankle gets absolutely grafted by these. When here's a picture of how they were. So I cut a little bit of the top off just to like relieve some pressure from my ankle, and now they're my most worn pair of sneakers of the past year. But more styling for the silhouette, you know, other than like this pants situation that I just showed, you know, just a nice pair of shorts, some high socks, kind of teased, cozy, stacking. Boom, slim pair of shoes, call it a day. Classic pairing for all shapes, really. Like how in 2016, remember how like skinny stack jeans, those fit pick crack? It was like, how many stacks could you get? But now I feel like a nice, organic looking, cozy, little bit of stack, like, oh, that looks comfy on a pair of shoes. If you've been living under a rock and you haven't gotten adjusted to this yet, it's just a pair of high socks, you know, usually a cozier material. I just use the Uniqlo socks. There is nothing special about this. Just give them little tease, you know, give them little, just with them a little bit. Just like do whatever. Just mess with them. Just play around with them. Just not too tight. Like give them some life. Bang changes up the whole vibe. I kind of just do this whenever I'm wearing high socks at any time. You know, even with slides. Sometimes I'm doing it with boots. Not that that even matters. Sometimes I just, even when I'm wearing pants, I just have them hidden under the pants, so when I cross my legs.
Hast du gesehen? Die Sandalen mit Socken.
You know, even with slides. Sometimes I'm doing it with boots. Not that that even matters. Sometimes I just, even when I'm wearing pants, I just have them hidden under the pants, so when I cross my legs and then they ride up and it's just like, oh, his socks are all loose and cozy. What a chill guy. Maybe I will give him $1 million. But yes, very forgiving, very flattering silhouette. But now if we add some meat to these things, you know, this is
Haben auch keine
where it gets
Flipflops, Philipp. Flipflops haben doch noch diesen Stab in der Mitte, oder nicht? Flipflops. Ja, die haben dieses Ding in der Mitte. Und? Hier, das sind Sandalen, Philipp. Digga, da, sorry. Badelatschen. Hier, Auto-Translate hat's mir übersetzt. Warum auch immer das übersetzt ist. In Flipflops. Das sind ja auch keine Flipflops. Badelatschen.
Interesting. I feel like the bulky sneaker narrative has finally escaped novelty and is now just another equal part of like the spread. Personally, big fan of the Nike Shox revival. Remember the power balance bands like these that were supposed to like make you indestructible? Like you could get hit by a car and it's like, well, at least I'm not falling over.
Ja,
Or
Mann.
whatever. I thought that Nike Shox also would give me some crazy power. I mean, look at them. If you get a good kick on someone with these, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. But also, hey, short king fun hack. If you're a short king, if you're a little short little guy, listen up. Good haircut, pair of Nike Shox, lose a little weight, you know, get in shape, boom. You're like, it's like you're 5'9". And if you're a man of average height, we're not necessarily flying first class, but it's premium economy. Big fan, but again, massive spread. You know, you got stuff from Asics and New Balance just on a generational run, like they have not stopped being cool over the past 5 years. The skate shoe revival, if you're really into these types of shoes, there's like, I don't know where these came from, but they're back. The hiking shoes have not lost traction. Personally, I think all of these are great with a nice sack stock. Personally, I think all of these are great with a good sock stack combo, sack stock. But yeah, the sock stack combo, it's like burgers and fries for your feet. A nice wide pair of shorts. Cargo pants are always nice with this as well. Sweatpants, anything that you can kind of cinch at the bottom to create a little bit of contrast. Or laid over, both laid over and cinched. I feel like a more generous pair of pants does these shoes justice. Skinny pair of pants, you know, it's like, what do you know about, like, what are you gonna do with all that? You don't know how to handle all that. Pass me the controller, you know? Like, you don't deserve all of that. I suggest this template if you're just looking for a place to start. Slightly oversized top, neutral to longer length, nothing too cropped, nothing boxy, just an easy fitting top. Fairly wide pair of pants or shorts. Doesn't have to be baggy. I'm just saying they gotta have some shape to handle all of that. I like some denim shorts or cargo pants personally, but you know, kind of stick to this general shape. And maybe a stacked sock. Bam, bulky shoe. And then you can really just pick whichever one excites you from there. Fairly basic template, but you know, not everything has to be complicated. This top-bottom combo sets you up so that you do not have to confront the fear of your big shoe looking awkward. Which is what I feel like a lot of people are intimidated about with this silhouette. You know, just kind of, for the first time ever, you're confronted with a lot of action. And you're like, oh man, I don't know what to do with all that, but it's really cool. But I don't know if I can handle all that. Stick to the template. But generally speaking, for silhouette in general, I feel like pants pairing, shoe pants pairing is where it matters the most. For slim profile shoes, big cut, I suggest a long or medium inseam. For straight cut, also same thing. Long or medium inseam, nothing too skinny, nothing too cropped. For bulky shoes, I feel like all just bigger or relaxed fit pants look good, even if they're a little bit higher up. I feel like the contrast between your big shoes and your pants always works really well. Also, big shorts, I feel works well with both slim and bulky profile. And if you found that part confusing, watch it again. You know, I definitely could have worded the last part better, but I didn't. So here's what I'm saying on the screen again. I'm not saying it again. Obviously, these are guidelines that just work in a general sense. Good styling and proper pairing can make any proportion look good. You know, just watch any wisdom video. He just on the idea of like, I don't like skinny on skinny. And then he's like, well, f you. So if you know how to style the shoes and make them look well outside of the stupid guidelines that I created, you know, that I made up, I completely made this up for the person that does not know what they're doing. But if you can do better, then you can do better. If you just need some direction, I like these setups. That's it. There's nothing crazy. Now we can get into the more colorful and fun part of what sneakers have to offer in 2026. Themes. Culturally, we are in a time right now where we want to have our cake and eat it also. The need to both fit in, but also feel special, but also feel safe, but also separate, but also a byproduct of this paradox, at least commercially, is just spray and pray for aesthetic direction. Like, we're gonna hit every single niche. I want every single niche, every single subculture, every vein of nostalgia has to be covered, which obviously can be taken as a bad thing. But to play devil's advocate, it kind of gives you an opportunity to look at a spread and then explore and then define what palette you actually want to create for yourself. Instead of only having to fit into one box, you get to choose. And for sneakers specifically, there's never been more food on the fridge. You know,
Da
it's like
waren
looking at the
Satoshi Nakamoto
menu
Schuhe.
at the Cheesecake
Ja, da sind schon ein paar coole Schuhe. Hast du die Asics Tabis gesehen? Hier. Crazy.
explore and then define what palette you actually want to create for yourself. Instead of only
Satoshi Nakamoto. Winter von Freuden. Ah ja. Ja. Würdest du den tragen, Philipp? Wäre das so ein Sneaker, den du tragen würdest? Safe. Ja, könnte ich bei dir sehen. Definitiv. Schaut aus wie Marcel Davis.
having to fit into one box, you get to choose. And for sneakers specifically, there's never been more food on the fridge. You know, it's like looking at the menu at the Cheesecake Factory, and it's like, you guys make all of this, and you're like, you know, you're like, if there's all of this on the menu, none of it's probably that good. But imagine that you can only eat at the Cheesecake Factory and there's nowhere else to eat. So then you're just like, okay, well, I might as well pick something that I like, right? That's life, kind of. So life is like a big Cheesecake Factory but you can't choose any other place to eat. And if you had to eat at the Cheesecake Factory, if you had to pick a sneaker that you were gonna wear, you should pick one that you like. But okay, all right. So personally, man, like I said earlier, big fan of the Nike Shox. It was just a big part of me growing up in the 2000s. I just find myself gravitating towards things that pioneered my taste as a kid. And this goes for all avenues of art, really. I don't know how many else of you guys grew up going to the Cheesecake Factory as a kid. Like, they had the biggest one in the world in Hawaii at one point. I don't know how much of that is true, but that really f***ed with my head when I was a kid. There's something going on with that place. Why is the menu so big? How are they pulling that off? There's something crazy going on. Anyways, what am I saying?
Cheesecake Factory
Nike Shox. But finding things that associate with your personality. I was born in San Diego. I grew up in Japan
like
and Hawaii, home of the biggest cheesecake. Just got these Vans that I find to be quite silly. I mean, it's literally in my name. I couldn't imagine a pair of anything that could be more personally defining than these
Mhm.
specific shoes right here. And obviously, this is not for
Musik
everyone.
ist
I
schon
wouldn't imagine this is for everyone. If not
ziemlich
for
cool.
the personal association to the things that make up this shoe, just visually, I don't know if I would like the shoe that much. But it's the intangibles. Like, when you gotta describe
Läuft so
why you
Musik auch
love
auf,
a
auf dem
woman,
Rave,
right?
Philipp?
You're not gonna say, oh, I
glaub, so
I
Musik
love the
läuft.
quality of the leather. Absolutely not. Like, you're gonna say some that doesn't mean anything, but means everything. Or you say you say nothing that means everything. Or some in the middle. You're not gonna say, I really like the craftsmanship. Sneakers have that intangible where,
Schnellere
like, it
Musik.
doesn't mean
Aha.
anything, but that's what means
Gibt's da keinen
everything.
Kuschelrock?
Also, all the stuff Vans is doing to push the needle as well, big fan. Never been a better time to give yourself more edge. And even just for aesthetics, man, these Puma VS1s that I brought up earlier, you know, like, again, domesticated soccer cleat, I understand the reference. I never played soccer growing up. It just wasn't my thing. Not that I couldn't pull up off the couch if I wanted to, though. But a lot of the style cues that make up a sneaker like this, they remind me a lot of like the drift cars and like that JDM scene from the 90s and 2000s, very Fast and Furious, Maximum Tune, Need for Speed.
That's
That's
crazy.
in what my head, you know, this almost looks like an M3 GTR if you really think about it. Or like Paul Walker's R34 and Too Fast, Too Furious. Kind of. But see, I don't know, like the regular person might not see that. I happen to see that. I happen to like it. You're in my cheesecake factory right now. This is my personal cheesecake factory. All of these things, you know, this is just very idiosyncratic to me. You don't have to understand it, but that's the whole point. And styling-wise, you have unlimited options for themes, really. If you're into the more new age streetwear stuff, as a lot of people are, that mature hybrid evolution of streetwear, menswear, and everything in between, this popular classic trainer we're seeing everywhere, like the Miu Miu New Balances. Drees has this new one that I've been seeing making waves on the internet a lot. Haven't seen
Die sind
people
teuer.
buying them, but
Ja, die
we've been
meisten Schuhe
talking
sind teuer.
about
Die
them.
die
On the
Zeit
more
hat.
affordable end, I've been a big fan, like, of this Nike soccer cleat variant looking thing. A lot of like the Taekwondo sneakers, like the ballet sneakers. Adidas just in general has been more ambitious with their designs as well, all of which add good edge and fit thematically with this look. Whether you lean more maximalist or minimalist, they work well in both contexts. And also just so much of the activewear stuff in the activewear world. Asics, Salomon, Puma, just a cargo pants' best friend. And if you're into things like material and wardrobe modularity, things like Americana and minimalism, the elevated sneaker spread has never been more tasteful in my opinion. I remember 10 years ago, it was like, you either pick a pair of Common Projects or whatever white leather sneaker with a logo you want to brand yourself with. Nowadays, there's an infinite pool of cool, elevated, minimal leather sneakers from brands like Margiela, and I just throw all of them on the screen, man. And the list goes on. All of the silhouettes, all of the themes, all of the reasoning, the whole Cheesecake Factory menu of stuff. Man, all of it debunking the idea that you are too cool to wear sneakers. They are the hits of personality that you can't really capture with a minimal leather boot. Again, nothing wrong with a lot of the minimal leather footwear stuff, as that still does take a majority of my wardrobe up. But in 2026, you know, sneakers give me the opportunity to have fun again. Like, I'm tired of eating at Michelin star restaurants. You gotta pig it out at the Cheesecake Factory every once in a while. Just not taking fashion too seriously, giving me a chance to be myself, have fun with it, make picks that I don't have to explain. Like, I don't want to explain why I'm wearing a pair of red floral Vans as a grown man. If you want to eat a pineapple cream Godiva strawberry cream chocolate cheesecake with Cinnabon inside, or whatever the f they got, you don't have to explain that.
Alles klar. So, nächstes Video.
When I was 12 years old, I believed myself to be God tier at Call of Duty. I'd always be in first
Well, for the-
place,
oh.
sniping noobs across the map, and I even started my own clan to make cringy edits that no one would see. But what I didn't know was that I was the one being played the entire time. You see, most games make you think you're smarter than you actually are, and there's a really smart reason why they do it. And once you know it, you won't let any game take you for granted ever again. So let's dissect
ja,
some of
immer
your
noch
favorite
krank.
titles you didn't know were lying to you. You might need some therapy after this. And look at some of the ways they control their difficulty based on your skill level. And the third one is so sneaky, even I didn't see it coming. And it's the reason EA got sued. Well, one of the many reasons they got sued. Let's get into it. In pretty much every game where you control a character, you may have noticed something super subtle while jumping around. I noticed it myself when I was making my own tough platformer game when I kept dying at every other jump. It's not a skill issue, guys. It's called Coyote Time, and yes, it is named after this guy right here. It's basically a little buffer that the game gives you to jump after you've left the platform, and usually it's about 5 to 6 frames long or 83 to 100 milliseconds to do so. But it works both ways, as input buffering also lets you press the jump button before actually reaching the ground, so once you reach it, it can jump automatically. It's kind of like laughing at a meme before you've finished reading it, or how I laugh at my own jokes, I think. Games like Celeste, Hollow Knight, and Super Meat Boy all use this trick. And this way you can easily time hard jumps, otherwise players would get very frustrated and not the fun kind. This is not the fun kind. So all of those precision platformers aren't as precise as you think. Oh. But the next trick is called rubber banding, but no, oh my god. But no, it's not an actual rubber band. It's a much stretchier subject than that. In fact, unbelievable to no one, Nintendo is the main culprit of rigging your childhood, specifically with Mario Kart. You know that feeling of being first place so far away from every other scrub that there's no possible way you could lose? Until you get blue shelled, and then red shelled, and then green shelled, and heck, you might as well collect the whole rainbow at this point because now you're in last place and you were the sucker all along. Well, Nintendo actually does this on purpose to snap your confidence in half. I'm not gonna snap this. You see, every item in the game has a different probability, and the further you are away from the front, the better items you always seem to get. But that's not all, because researchers, yes, Mario Kart researchers, nobody told me about this at the job fair, uncovered that the
Mario
actual
Kart
NPCs
researchers,
themselves physically speed up or slow down depending on how far away you are from them. They ran emulator scripts on Super Mario Kart and found that the AI completed the race 20 seconds faster if you were in first place versus last. And you can get a lot and you can get a lot done in 20 seconds, allegedly. But why does Nintendo do this if it's the source of so much frustration and broken friendships? Well, it's simple. It's so the game stays fun and competitive for everyone at the table, even for your little cousin that keeps falling off the sides. It's better for you though. Nintendo wants to keep you at that sweet spot between winning and losing, giving you just enough hope that you'll say just one more time, please. So while Nintendo wants you to have fun, EA has a very different reason for doing the same thing. For years, FIFA players, yes, they exist, would complain about the momentum of the game. Your star athlete would be about to shoot the winning goal, and then he fumbles, and suddenly your shots start missing like crazy. Oh. Now, while EA denied having anything to do with this, and I know it's kind of hard to read this, I need a better projector. In 2016, they conveniently filed a public patent describing a system to automatically adjust the difficulty of the game, a system called DDA, or Dynamic Difficulty Adjustment. There we go. But while they claim not to have used it in-game, what's the exact system they're hiding? Well, the patent describes 4 subsystems working in harmony until the Fire Nation. Okay, I'll stop. And for this, guys, we need to bring out the big pointer for big points. The first one sets the rules. Think of it like a hidden settings menu. It decides how hard the game should be based on your performance. The second one would group you with other FIFA players, yes, they still exist, who behave similarly to you, and not by skill, if that's even a thing in FIFA, but by your spending habits and playing patterns. Are you a grinder, a spender, or a quitter? EA knows all. The second to last one is kind of creepy. It would predict how long you're gonna keep playing the game before you rage quit or have better stuff to do. Low bar, I know. So it allegedly changes the game to keep you hooked longer than you normally would. It's kind of like a casino that locks the exits right before you're about to leave. Or that one church. And the fourth subsystem, I'm holding up a 4 inside here. You just can't see it. Or maybe I'm lying. It's the brain behind the brawn. Every time you play the game, allegedly, you give it more data. So it becomes better at predicting and manipulating you. So you end up thinking you're actually better than the game, but the game is just getting better at you. Allegedly. Everything is allegedly here. Players claim that EA deliberately made their teams weaker to push them into buying more card packs. If that's not pay to win, I don't know what is. So of course they got mega sued in 2020, but they ended up open sourcing their code to the plaintiffs and the lawsuit was dropped. But nobody fully believes them because it's EA. Come on. I guess that's what happens when you're the boy who cried wolf, except the wolf is a patent filed in your own name. And EA wasn't alone. Activision, another very non-greedy company, filed a similar patent for their multiplayer matchmaking system that would pair you with other suckers who spent their hard-earned cash on the game, making you want to own that gold shiny digital gun. But that's a whole nother video. Now EA does this to help you reach the ultimate flow state, the sweet spot between boredom and frustration or anxiety. It's the state I reached while writing this big beautiful script. Yeah, I'm about that. I'm about that. Now in the 70s, a psychologist named this, I am not going to attempt to pronounce this, discovered it after being fascinated with artists who would just seem to get lost in the sauce after completing their masterpieces. It's a magic zone where you completely lose track of time, even forgetting to eat because you're so engrossed in the activity that you're doing. Look at that focus. Pure focus. On the flip side, these other two psychologists coined the term loss aversion, where losing feels twice as good as winning. So EA, of course, takes advantage of this by introducing a losing streak after you were winning. So it feels doubly painful and you want to do anything you can to restore your former glory, even if it means paying hundreds of dollars to form the perfect team. He's very happy with that card pack. Are you winning, son? But here's the ironic part. EA didn't even invent this system. Instead, they just found a way to monetize it because Capcom got there first. Unlike EA, Capcom wasn't doing it for the money. They just wanted everyone to hear, "What are you buying?" one last time. And to complete the full story of Resident Evil 4, of course, not quitting when the going gets tough. To accomplish this, they created an internal score called Game Rank, a scale from 1 to 10 that tracks your accuracy, damage taken, deaths, and how many items you burn through. What do you think your rating would be? I'm a 10 out of 10. So the better you play, the higher your score, and the more difficult the enemies get, becoming more aggressive, dealing damage, and spawning more of them. And vice versa, if you suck, there's only going to be a few scattered throughout the map that's probably going to run away scared when they see you coming near them. One perfect example of this is the crossbow archers in the castle's water room. These guys only appear if you perform well enough in the previous section. Honestly, maybe being bad at games was the meta all along. And here's the surprising part. Capcom didn't tell anyone that this system existed. It's not even in the patch notes. Instead, some nerds found it while digging through the code. Curiosity, in fact, did not kill the cat. They exploited it by intentionally taking damage and dying early in game to make the later section enemies easier to kill. But instead of doing the usual AAA switch up and patching it, Capcom decided to keep it as a hallmark system on how to keep your game alive for many years to come after launch. Now you may be feeling a little betrayed right now. The games you loved were lying to you this whole time. But I want you to remember this feeling because we'll come back to it in a little bit. This is you, by the way. But first, what if a studio did all of this, but instead of lying about it, they advertised it? Well, Valve, yes, this guy, did exactly that. With Left 4 Dead, one of the best co-op shooters to ever exist, hands down. Hands down. Instead of calling it a difficulty system, he branded it as an AI director, back when AI was cool. Just like a film director deciding when to build tension and when to give the audience a breather, it's basically a big brother that's always watching you and your friends play and getting smoked constantly, because one of y'all always gotta keep running off. Like, what are y'all doing? The big director does this in 4 stages, and for this we need to bring out the big pointer. First, we have that buildup when you hear that terrifying sound and you hear the horde of enemies coming to mass mob you. Then you have the peak when you're in the sauce, fighting for your life, running out of ammo, and on the last med pack. And then the fade off, where the spawning of the enemies kind of slows down and those little suckers start to die off. And then the silence that comes after, the calm before the storm. And don't you think that the big director isn't paying attention to all of this? If your team's health is critically low, that means you suck. But you're gonna start finding painkillers in some really random places, and you might think, wow, these zombies really have kind of a drug addiction at this point, because this isn't normal. It treats the team as a single unit, so technically when you die, it's everyone's fault. And it manages everyone's stress levels, so if you just got mobbed 3 times in a row, your possibility to get mobbed a 4th time is much lower, but your buddy over there who's been coasting and cruising the whole time should start sleeping with one eye open. But Left 4 Dead isn't the only one pulling the strings in the background. Naughty Dog uses a similar system in The Last of Us, and they just so happen to be about zombies as well, to adjust their aggression, their damage, and the availability of items. As if the clickers needed any help with that, but okay. Now EA, Capcom, and Valve have all used the same system, but Left 4 Dead had a good feeling associated with it because Valve was transparent about it. Who knew that communication would be the key to a successful relationship? But while Left 4 Dead reacts to you, Forza does something completely different. It learns how you race over time and even races against you while you're offline or asleep. Or both. And that's some really cyberpunk stuff right there. They create a drivatar, and yeah, that's a name, trained on neural networks on millions of real player laps and races in other players' games, earning you credits while you sleep. Now that's what I call making your money work for you. It even picks up on your bad habits, so if you cut corners or brake late, then you should have your license suspended for the safety of the general populace. Now, every system we've looked at so far, Mario Kart, Resident Evil, and Left 4 Dead, they all have something in common. They decide how hard the game should be. But there is one studio that refused to make that decision entirely and instead lets the player suffer. Very Darwinist of them. Is that how I say that word? Darwinist? Dark Souls. You're either good or you're not. You get no difficulty settings, no adaptive AI, and nothing that would make you feel good about yourself. In Miyazaki's own words, and no, not the Studio Ghibli one, I got confused too. If we really wanted the whole world to play the game, we could just crank the difficulty down. Turning down the difficulty would strip the game of that joy, which in my eyes would break the game itself. In other words, he was probably a little bit of a sadist in a way, with all due respect. All jokes aside, he really frames it as fairness, because everyone has the same opportunity from the start, except that one guy who played it with one hand, that's just insane. But if you think about it, real life, you don't start with the same opportunities. On the flip side, you have games with infinite menus and a ton of accessibility settings. With Celeste, one of the hardest platformers that was ever made, you have a full assist mode. You can slow down the game, give yourself invincibility, and even award yourself with some extra dashes. The developer, Matt Thorson, said ultimately, we want to empower the player and give them a good experience, and sometimes that means letting go. Sometimes accessibility and difficulty aren't mutually exclusive, and I am losing my voice a little bit here. This does pose an interesting question though. Is dynamic difficulty even ethical? If a game is always softening the blow for you, will you ever grow? I mean, real life doesn't soften the punches.
Mit mir wirst du nur verlieren.
It's kind of like using ChatGPT. At some point, we're not even going to be able to think for ourselves if we just keep relying on these external systems to do the thinking for us. So maybe the game beating you is the point. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter unless you do what EA did. obviously. Make the game you want to make, and if people are gonna complain, then let them. Too bad. Womp womp. Womp womp. There's always gonna be people complaining. Heck, just look at some of the comments below. Yeah, I'm calling you guys out. Players will always find fault with something. Is it manipulative to them? Maybe. Does it matter if they're having fun? I don't think so. So while most of your favorite games were lying to you, some of them were lying to help you. A little white lie. It's kind of like when you promise your great granny on her deathbed that you're gonna get married within a year. And if you want to keep learning how games work, I have 2 splendid videos right here. And oh my and you should wishlist my platformer with no difficulty settings. It's down below. Boom beat. What are these 2?
So, Philipp. Was machen wir jetzt? Spielen wir jetzt Vampire Crawlers oder gucken wir jetzt das Video? Weil das Video geht 40 Minuten. Wir haben jetzt schon eine Weile geguckt. Vampire Crawlers Trailer. Ja, okay. Also, Vampire Survivors. Das ist von den Machern. Die kam nur auf dem Klo. Okay. Also. Würdest du sagen, jetzt haben wir genug erstmal geguckt? Oder willst du das Video gucken?
God, please.
Direktrender? Okay. Direktrender. Controller? Weiß ich nicht. Lass erstmal schauen. Was ist das? Okay. Combo Stack. New. Play cards in ascending mana cost. Oder voll Combo Multiplayer. Okay. Jawohl. mit Damage. Oh, einmal mehr. Oh, da ist jetzt Dracula drin. Santa Water. Deals 66 damage, burns enemies after this turn. Okay. Damn. Vierer-Kombo. Oh. Was passiert jetzt? Make a crawler, but the vampire is another coffin. Okay. Antonio Jones Crawlers. World Map. Mal schauen. Action. Level 10. Ich glaube, ich bin im Kreis gelaufen.
To your aid. Start. Wicket. Stronger. I say. Attack. Whip it. Stop. Yeah, well.
Oh, was ist das? Gem Hammer. Unlocks the ability to add gems to cards, find gems and chests leveling up. Okay. It's twice as good.
To your aid. Aha! Attack! Yes! I say.
Jawohl.
My strength is your shield. Aha! Stop, I say. Yes! Farewell. To your aid. Attack! Whip it! I say. Yes! Farewell. My strength is your shield. Aha! Attack! Whip it! Start! Welcome! Stronger! Whip it! I say start! Yes! You're welcome!
Draws a card? Okay. Nehmen wir das Rare.
To your aid! Aha! Attack! Whip it!
Ich hätte Draw a Card auf die 0 hätte ich das machen sollen. Ja.
Farewell. To your aid. Attack! Yes! I say, start! You're welcome!
Increases might stat. Ich finde das Spiel richtig geil.
My strength is your shield. Whip it! I say, farewell.
Was eine Scheiße.
To your aid. Start. Yes. Start. Whip it. Welcome. Stronger. Aha. I say. Yes. Attack. Farewell.
Jawohl, jawohl, jawohl. Oh shit, what the fuck? Stage completed. Bonus Coins 500. Bill Pais. Antonio Bill Pais. Das war aber nicht schlecht. Collect 2 Mana Orbs. Reach Level 10. With 20 Lights. Läuft. Tichana in Mad Forest. Eine New Unlocks. Und Achievements oder was ist das? Oder Selection? Okay. Hallo. Den habe ich doch nicht. Ich hab den nicht. Ja. Inlaid Library. Oh, Enter. So, schauen wir mal. Text deals Splash Damage 10% per Rank. Ach, das ist alles active. Ah. Restoration bonus. Restoration bonus stay. Fishing 20% per XP. Per rank. Max health by 10% per rank. Das ist so. Das Damage. Damage. Reach Level 50. Also. Jo, das ist aber. Das ist ganz schön viel. Ja. Und das ist nur die Demo. King Bible Cards 99 Mal. 71 schon. Wir Fire One Cards schon. Gordon Bell in. Oh, hier kann ich Charaktere auswählen. Ah, Bewohner.
An admirable choice.
Probieren wir mal aus. Was ist das?
Channel 1 magic. Powering up. I say. Kata. Yes! Okay, I helped. Our power grows.
Oh, this is like much better. Anyways.
Made you work. Perfection. Smart.
Guiding light shows what the light source. It is done. Your aid.
made you look? I say, okay, I helped. Your power grows. Powering up. Perfection. Yes. Smart. It is done.
Er will 15. In 10% noch Quatsch. So. Ja.
Your aid. Perfection. I say.
Damn, Wechselkombo.
Did you live? Okay, I helped. Channel my magic.
Also das war meine Mutter. Sie hat für mich zugerufen. Okay, Moment. So. Vielleicht noch. Ich spiele ein bisschen leiser. So.
I say, smart.
Das ist jetzt blöd.
It is done. Our power grows. Perfection. Yes. Powering up. Mighty Lord.
Digga, was? Underwater.
It is done.
Legendary evolution. Oh my god. Anyways.
To your aid. Did you do it? Powering up. Yes. Okay, I helped.
Das ist immer noch die Demo.
Channel my magic. Perfection.
Ich glaube aber jetzt ist das Level vorbei nach dem Boss. Und dann werde ich wahrscheinlich auch... Wollen wir dann das Kanye-Video gucken? Wie viel Uhr haben wir denn? Oh. 15:42 Uhr. Ja.
I say. Smart.
Jawohl. Ah ja. Ne, Sofrito. Ah, jetzt ist auch die Demo vorbei. Ah ja. Okay. So, Wille, bist du ready für das Kanye-Video? Oder wollen wir noch ein bisschen auf den da schwindern? Jo, Wille, bist du noch da? Hallo. Okay. Dann mache ich jetzt eine Pause. Weiß ich nicht, ob ich jetzt ins Gym gehe. Ja, meine Mutter ist jetzt wieder da und mal gucken, wie es geht. Ich bin zwar heute schon gelaufen, aber wir haben heute eigentlich A, also Oberkörper. Aber vorhin so war so noch Arbeiten. Anyways, geh dann mal gucken. Video können wir wann anders gucken. Jetzt in meinen Watch later.